Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And we have a returning guest today who appeared about 2.5 years ago, which was in January 2023, episode 307. Stefan Bernstein, who's the CEO of GreenRoc Mining, a company focused on unlocking critical mineral resources in Greenland, with a particular spotlight on the graphite at the Amitsoq project in southern Greenland. We're going to discuss the upcoming bulk sample program at the Amitsoq Graphite project, progress on the environmental impact assessment, what's next for the AAM pilot plant. Stefan's also going to share an update on their exploration license application, community engagement in southern Greenland, and the prospect on the region's evolving political landscape, and obviously a lot more. Stefan, welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Great to be back.
Yeah, it's been 2.5 years, and maybe some of our listeners would have listened to that previous episode. But for those that haven't listened, I do encourage you to obviously go back and listen. But I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your career, how you got into the mining industry, and how your career's developed over time.
Yes, certainly. So I'm a Danish. My background is Danish. I'm a Danish geologist. I've been working in my career part-time in research, part-time in economic geology. I've always had this interest about mineral commodities and particularly finding them, the exploration stage. And I've been working with Greenland geology since 1987 and focusing mostly on that, being at the Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland. I've also been working in another exploration company that we set up about 15 years ago, a startup company that took us everywhere in Greenland. Did a number of new discoveries also back then. And now I'm back with the GreenRoc Strategic Materials, developing the Amitsoq Graphite mine towards production.
Yeah. So I just wondered if you can give us an overview and a snapshot of GreenRoc.
Right. So we have one kind of flagship project, which is the Amitsoq Graphite mine. It is a historic mine, so we are basically working on reopening it. We have defined a very large resource at Amitsoq. It's a very rich deposit. We have more than 23 million tons of graphite ore, more than 20% graphite. So it's one of the world's highest grades graphite deposits. We are presently working towards an exploitation permit. I can elaborate a bit on that later. The aim of the mine is to produce graphite concentrate, but the market really is in the more refined products. Because if we were to be in production today, we'll have to ship all our production of graphite concentrate to China for processing. So we are also planning to set up a kind of a midstream business, processing the graphite concentrate into firstly active anode material for lithium batteries, but we're also looking into potentially producing flexible graphite for the defense industries, which is another kind of a niche market for graphite, but definitely of strategic interest also.
Talking about the project, you'll be collecting a bulk sample this year. Can you just describe in a bit of, I suppose, detail what will be going on and what the bulk sample will be used for?
Yes. So first of all, the bulk sample will be collected later this month. We'll start with the contracting company, which is HK Transport from Graphite in South Greenland, about 80 kilometers away. from Amitsoq. They will be moving in with a ship. The deposit is right at the deep water fjord, so it's easy to access the site. So there's access to the ore bodies from historic underground workings. We have marked out last month where they're going to drill and blast and collect the bulk sample. So it's a relatively easy undertaking. They will be moving in through some of the old mine openings. There'll be a bit of excavation to get in, of course, but that should be done within the first week or so. So we expect the entire bulk sampling to be conducted by 2 or 3 weeks' time. It's going to be filled in big bags, put on a barge, and sailed back to GreenRoc, where we can put it in containers so it's ready for shipment at the time where we have the contracts ready for the processing of the bulk sample. And then you ask what's the use for it, and the reason we're collecting this bulk sample is really twofold. It's going to provide us with a lot of useful information about the crushing, grinding, flotation stages of the bulk sample, which will provide data for the upcoming pre-feasibility study. But it's also going to provide us with a lot of very useful graphite concentrate material, which we will be using for the pilot plant that will be setting up soon in Denmark. Or we are planning to set it up. It's a processing plant that takes it from being graphite concentrate to graphite active anode material, or the precursor, which is the spheronite purified graphite, or SPG.
There's also going to be some ongoing baseline studies as part of the EIA assessment. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's a really important part of getting towards a mining permit. Also, again, important part of the pre-feasibility study and definitive feasibility study. So the work really started a number of years back. The baseline studies are important to have started at early time, because you need to demonstrate a series of samples about background chemistry and all other things before you open the mine. So we are more or less done with this year's study. There will probably be a bit supplementary work next year, but then we are complete with the sampling for the environmental impact assessment. One of the important parts here is to work also on the sites for the tailing storage facility. It's going most likely to be in a lake nearby, 3 kilometers on the other side of the fjord. It's really a minuscule amount of tailings that our mine will be producing, because the drift and fill mining method that we are working on at the moment is requiring a substantial quantity of the tailings as backfill. So we expect really to be able to deposit about 80% of the tailings back in the mine. So we'll only be needing about 20% for going to tail storage facility.
Coming back to the AAM pilot plant, can you describe the actual plans around this?
Yeah, so the plans are to develop the capacity and the experience to process the graphite concentrate into active anode material. That requires 3 stages. The important first stage is a shaping, where individual graphite flakes are rounded so they become like small balls, minute particles rounded around the edges. That's presently something that only Chinese manufacturers of milling systems master. So we have done a bit of research into that, and now have an agreement with a Chinese company to supply the best equipment available on the market today. And then there's a purification. The standard Chinese purification takes us through a lot of chemical uses, particularly the use of hydrofluoric acid, which is a very hazardous substance. We have done some work finding alternatives to hydrofluoric acid and found that the sodium hydroxide works really well with our graphite. It has specific impurities. Every natural flake graphite deposit comes with a distinct natural impurities in forms of other minerals, and it turns out that we can use sodium hydroxide to purify our graphite. Sodium hydroxide is basically pipe cleaner, so it's aggressive chemical too, but has a lot less regulations around it. It's also a lot less expensive, and the regulations are similarly light. So that's what we are going to use. There's a bit of development there, of course, to reach the right equipment and design the right equipment for the purification. Anyway, our hope is that this pilot plant will be set up sometimes by the end of the year. But of course, it's pending on some capital. But it's something that we are hopeful that we can get in place during the coming months.
Can you walk us through the logistics and the timeline from bulk sampling to pilot plant testing, and then obviously eventual production?
Right. So the timeline would look like this: that the bulk sample will be collected and ready to go to a process plant by the end of this fall. We expect to have the graphite concentrate from that processing ready by next spring. At that time, the pilot processing plant will be ready, and we will be running some tests that will be taking a couple of years to also feed into the definitive feasibility study, both for the mine and for the process plant. So in about 2 years' time, granted that we have the access to capital that we need, we will be arriving at the final investment decision, then continues a couple of years of construction at the mine in Greenland and the processing plant in Norway, where we are planning to set up the active anode materials processing plant. So in 4 years from now, we can be in production. That is in end of 2029.
If we move on to permitting, you filed your application for an exploration license in September 2024. I wondered if you can give us an overview of what the progress is on that application.
So, yes, you're correct. We filed our application for exploitation license in September 2024. It's about a year ago now. It has been through the variety of processing at the government in Greenland. They have been retrieving some technical data on Amitsoq, and it's been through pre-consultation in June this year. We're presently working on our white book, which summarizes our reply to the response from the pre-consultation. That is going to be submitted to the government later this month, and we're hopeful that we will be receiving the exploitation license this fall. And that is, I would say, record time for minerals projects in our part of the world. these things can often take many years to pass. So, and it's the exploitation license is really the political approval of the project. Then comes the mining permit, but that's more technical. That includes the delivery of an environmental impact assessment, social impact assessment. There's impact benefit agreement, a closure plan, and so forth for the mine. And then once all those things are in place, you get the mining permit. But the exploitation permit is really as I said, the political approval of the project.
What's your judgment on the sentiment towards mining, where you're working, particularly in Southern Greenland, and how do you work with the local communities?
Right. Yeah. So we to start out, I would say that we are holding regular information meetings with the locals, particularly in Nanortalik, which is the closest town. It's about 20 kilometers away. We're also active on social media in Greenland, so they are kept abreast of what's going on with the project, even though we don't really have necessarily a presence physically. They of course like to know what progress is being made, what plans are being made. So we try to keep people informed, not overwhelm them with information, but just so they know. They have telephone numbers and mails, so they can mail or call if they have any questions. We held also a series of information meetings with the South Greenland commune and the Greenland government. Last year in September, we traveled through 3 towns. There were 3 projects also presenting our project. And then Amitsoq's gold project and 10 Breezes Kringlerne rare earth element project. And so the minister and the mayor was there to express their opinions on the minerals industry, and we presented our projects, and people could ask questions. And I'd say, my impression from these regular meetings and from that tour around the South Greenland towns, that in general there's a lot of interest, positive interest for our project. Particularly, I would say the Amitsoq Graphite project receives a lot of positive, I would say almost excitement that some activities are coming back to the Nanortalik town. It's a place that sees that because of lack of new jobs, there's some degree of depopulation. The youngers are moving to Nuuk and to other bigger towns, as you see in all over the world. So there's definitely a very positive attitude to the minerals industry in general, and to the Amitsoq project specifically.
If we look at the political scene, what's your take on the present political focus on Greenland at the moment?
Yeah, so over the past 6 months or so, there's been a bit of a turmoil, I think you can safely say. But actually, the focus on Greenland has been ever increasing over the past couple of years. And I would say in several ways, it's actually culminated last year with the EU delegation to Greenland, visiting Greenland in Nuuk in March 2024, where the partnership agreement between the EU and Greenland was signed. And since then, there's been quite a few meetings. There was a business mission to Greenland in October last year, where we were presenting. We've been invited to specific sessions on Greenland and the mineral industry in Greenland at various conferences, the ERT Raw Materials Summit and the Raw Materials Week in Brussels. So we have been presenting there. I think there's a genuine interest from the EU side. Our project was was announced a strategic project under the EU Critical Raw Materials Act back in June. So I think the connection between Greenland and the EU has strengthened a lot over the past months and couple of years. Adding to this is a lot of U.S. interest. We saw already last year that we became a mineral security partnership project, which is it's a consortium, shall we say, of I think it's 14 countries, and the EU. It used to be led by the U.S., securing critical raw materials supply for the Western world, basically. I would say that presently, I think it's a little less driven by the U.S., but the interest is still there. So I think in general, you could say Greenland is geographically positioned right in the middle there in the North Atlantic, potentially providing both the North American and the European market with critical raw materials, particularly graphite. So in that sense, we are right in the middle of the two biggest financial markets.
If we look at the graphite market, what's your outlook on graphite demand over the sort of next 5 to 10 years? Obviously, particularly with EV and battery markets in mind.
Yeah, well, in short, it's really strong. Of course, we've seen a bit of a weakening of the EV market and therefore also the battery market, but it's actually not because it's like decreasing or anything. It's just not like taking off with the kind of exponential growth that we saw forecasted a few years back. But it's still growing really, really solidly in the coming years. I think that there's no signs that we will have a change in battery chemistries with respect to the use of graphite. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about solid-state batteries, which are for the most not using graphite as the anode material, but it seems to be way into the future, if that's going to happen at all, that solid-state batteries are going to release the standard lithium-ion batteries, chemistries, and systems. I read the other day here that the CEO of Panasonic said that solid-state batteries are way into the future if they are going to have a market share at all in over the next couple of decades. So I think the graphite demand is there to stay, and it's only going to grow. And adding to this is the need for a secure supply, from friendly countries, both for the European and North American market.
How do you see GreenRoc differentiating itself from other graphite developers globally?
Several things. First of all, the quality of the graphite is really high at Amitsoq. It's coarse-grained flake graphite with a good crystallinity, ideal for producing a graphite active anode material for batteries. I'd say also that the geographical position, as I just said, it's close to the two major markets globally. And it's in a country which is very much welcoming minerals industry, which is quite on the opposite of what you see in most other countries in our part of the world. And then it builds, of course, on now we've become a strategic project under the EU's Critical Raw Materials Act that adds a lot of solidity to our project, in a sense that we know that we have this political support, and I'm sure that also in the future will result in financial support. That's at least what the EU has pledged. So in that way, I think we distinguish ourselves from a lot of other graphite projects.
Can you speak about your current funding position and how you're managing capital through these early stage developments?
Yeah, really good question. Everything hinges on having access to capital, obviously. We've been able to raise a modest amount of funding over the past years here, mostly because of the lack of interest or modest interest that we see from investors towards these pre-production companies. So, of course, with the current valuation of our project it's difficult to raise the amount of capital that we really need to drive the project forward. But with the modest amount of funds that we've been able to raise over the past years here, I think we've done a tremendous amount of work. So we keep a very low flow of what you call it. We keep a low cost profile in terms of company costs, corporate costs. So most of what we raise goes into project development. But now we are looking towards the possibilities of raising additional finance in other ways, and that's what I'm working really hard on. There's potential public financing opportunities that we are pursuing at the moment. In addition to that, there's a growing private interest also from various financial institutions. So I'm quite confident that within the kind of midterm that we will see a strong financial support for our project. So we're actually able to achieve what we need.
And lastly, concluding, I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about the outlook for the next for the next 6 to 12 months for GreenRoc.
Right. Okay. So again, provided that we can mount the finances, then first of all, we expect, as I said, or hopeful that we have our exploitation permit in place before Christmas. We are also expecting to have our bulk sample collected and ready to go for processing. Pending also on financing, we'll be having by Christmas time, we will have our pilot plant established. It will be commissioned in the first quarter in 2026 and will be producing the first precursor graphite active anode material before the end of 2026, so we can start the qualification route towards the off-takers. Well, if you look a bit further ahead, I think that further work on Amitsoq will bring us to a definitive feasibility study, which can be concluded hopefully by end of 27, so we can start construction in early 28. And the same goes for the graphite active anode processing facility in Norway. So the next 2 years will be really busy. There's a lot of work to be done leading up to the definitive feasibility studies for both projects, but it's work that I'm looking forward to very much.
Yes, certainly. Stefan, appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on the podcast again. Give us an update on GreenRoc. Obviously what you're doing in Southern Greenland, also talking to us about obviously the bulk sample. So good luck with that, which is upcoming, and obviously with the pilot plant. So if our audience wants to reach out to you, but also follow the story, how can they go about doing that, and what social media platform channels are you on?
Yeah, so we are on LinkedIn, and we are on X or Twitter, and we are also having our website on Investor Hub, where you can also ask questions that I will try my best to answer and access past recordings. And I'll also now and then put up a recording explaining what we're doing, so you get some extra information regularly.
Yes, certainly. All those details will be in the show notes accompanying this podcast for easy access for our listeners. So thank you again. Hopefully you can come on next year and give us an update on GreenRoc.
Great. Thanks a lot, Rob.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed that episode. as always, appreciate your continued support. And please keep sharing these episodes far and wide. Obviously, we're talking about graphite, which at the time of this recording isn't a favourable commodity, it seems. However, it will come into play very soon, no doubt. And obviously, Stefan has given an overview of GreenRoc and what they're actually doing in Greenland. So, as always, appreciate if you can share this episode far and wide to everyone that you know, everyone in the industry that you know, to educate our mining industry. Thank you again for listening. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.